Well, welcome back to our fifth and final step on dealing with COVID. I think this has been really good. Hopefully it's been informative for you and you've been able to take some of the things that we've talked about and been able to implement them in your life. Now, there is one thing I think we both would agree with. These aren't like the only 5 steps you can take. These are just 5 steps that we're recommending. There's other things that you can be doing through this to help relieve your stress and anxiety and depression. Don't forget, as you mentioned earlier, sometimes we can't do this alone.
Absolutely, yeah. These aren't the only steps. There are a lot of other ways people deal with them. These are just quick, simple, easy steps that are that we're able to relay without individualized attention. But if you're practicing them and you find that they haven't been enough, please don't hesitate to reach out to the church or to reach out to professional assistance. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely. And I failed to mention, I'm Alan Waibel, the lead pastor here at First Church of God in Darlington. And Faith?
I'm Faith Tyner. I'm a member here at the church, and I also am a licensed professional counselor working at a private practice here in town.
That's awesome. You know, it's been so good to do this, and we're about ready to hit our 5th and final step. But one thing I would ask you to do is if you've enjoyed this or you have any questions or comments, to leave those in the comment section. We'll be watching that to see if we can respond to any of those. If you found them helpful, you can share these and or subscribe. And we're hoping to do some more of this type of stuff in the future. So, but part of that will be how you respond to this and how well it's received. So I hope you'll kind of communicate back with us. And if there's something you'd like us to cover in the future, please feel free to put that in the comments as well.
I agree. And I would also note that if there's anything, as you're thinking about commenting on the videos, if there's something that you're not comfortable with making a public comment, please feel free to reach out to the church.
Absolutely.
They have my office contact information. They also have office information for other places here in town. Or you can private message them on the Facebook page, and we will do our best to make sure that we provide whatever information or resources you need. If you don't live locally, I encourage you to look up what the resources are in your area.
That's exactly right. So quickly run through the 4 steps that we've been through so far, and then bring us into the 5th step.
All right, you're testing my knowledge. So step 1 was to accept and validate what you're feeling. Everybody's having a different emotional response to this. And so just being able to acknowledge what yours is and to be okay with that. Step 2 was coping with the physical challenges that come with the emotional distress. So learning how to relax the body. Step 3 was learning how to cope in other ways using creative arts or physical activity. Step 4 was learning how to connect with others as best as you can during a time of social distancing.
Right.
And so now we're getting ready to look at step 5.
All right. And step 5 is?
Step 5 is being able to practice gratitude. Despite all of the things that are going on right now that are really challenging, it is both therapeutically beneficial and biblically beneficial to have a mindset of gratitude.
Yes.
So the way that I encourage people to look at that is to focus on 3 different things every day.
Okay.
The first one is to focus on something beautiful in nature. That can be anything that you see, whether in person or even if you're looking at it through other social media sites or things like that. So look for a beautiful sunset or a majestic landscape. Something that you can recognize the beauty in God's creation.
Absolutely. I can see my wife right now just putting on a video with the beach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, watching the ocean and
yeah.
All of a sudden she'd be grateful about that and so yeah.
I can remember in childhood, my dad, as a hobby, was a photographer, and he was really good at it. And the church used to ask him all the time to put together slideshows to a Christian song that they wanted to use in service, and he would put slideshows together of nature, so cover bridges or animals or landscapes, and he would help people connect to God's beauty, to God's creation through those images.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
what's the second?
So step 2 is to find something that you're grateful for in others, something that you see goodness and self-control, any of those fruits of the Spirit that you see someone else convey. That can be in person, something that you see your child or your spouse do. If you don't have them, it might be something that you see online. Where I grew up, they had a segment of news called Tell Me Something Good. It was like
nice.
a 5-minute segment at the end of every newscast, because they wanted to remind people, even though they share all of these challenging and difficult things, there are still good things happening.
That's
and
right.
so look for that in other people.
As you're talking about that, I couldn't help but remember in some of our past steps, we were talking about the fact that you're now cooped up with these people, your spouse, your kids, or whomever. And sometimes it's easy to focus on the negative. It's easy to focus on those things that are driving you crazy. Those little mannerisms that they always are kind of there. But when you're locked together all the time, it's
They're
like magnified. And so maybe instead of focusing on those, which is so easy, so natural, focus on some of the good things about those people that you're with.
Absolutely. And then the last step is to focus on something that you're grateful for or thankful for about yourself. So that can come in a lot of forms. It can come in things that you appreciate about your personality. Okay. It can come in things that you think you do well. And then you engage in those. So just remind yourself that even though for a lot of people right now, they're missing elements. We talked about this earlier with the connection piece and validating the feelings. They are missing things that are a normal part of their identity, their jobs or their relationships. And so when we begin to miss those things, we begin to become very self-critical and have a lot of self-doubt that we don't have the same value that we did before, because we're not able to contribute in those ways. And so it's really important to remember the good things about the way that God's created you. You're still made in His image. You're still His being. And so to be able to identify and look at those things that you like about yourself and then try to find a way to use them.
Yes. The Bible talks throughout all of Scripture about having this attitude of gratitude, of being grateful for the things that God has provided for us. We use this verse in a couple of points back, Philippians 4:6-7, where it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." In James 1:17, it reminds us that every good and perfect gift comes from above. That everything God has given us that's good. And so those things that you see in nature, those traits that you see in those that you're living with, even those things that are within yourself, God has put them there.
Right.
And we need to be grateful about them.
Right. And that doesn't change. We're not contradicting step one of validating your feelings.
Absolutely not.
We want to recognize that things aren't necessarily good right now, but there are still good pieces in you and in the things around you. And what you choose to focus on is where your emotions and your thoughts will tend to go.
Exactly. If you focus on the negative, your attitude will go negative. If you focus on the positive, on that what you're grateful for, you'll notice that your attitude will get better and brighter. And so that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Faith, for joining me with these.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
It's been great. I hope you've enjoyed them. I hope they've been beneficial for you. And like we said, put some comments in the comment section so we know how we can maybe do this in the future and areas that would be beneficial for you. God bless you. We love you. We care about you. And that's why we did this. So I hope that this has been helpful. And until next time, we'll see you.